You have to excuse me today, folks. Yesterday was a chemo day, so I'm a bit under the weather. But I wanted to get this out to y'all for your consideration. Yesterday, emblazoned on the front page of the Miami Herald were the words "winning streak." That's what Barack Obama's campaign has organized since its start. In contrast, the Clinton campaign is in real trouble. I can diagnose the problem from afar. It's consultant heavy. I saw it during the Gore and the Kerry campaign, but the Clinton campaign has a special problem. It's its consultant-in-chief, Bill Clinton. How does a member of Clinton Inc. tell the former President of the United States that he's just plain wrong? The actual campaign manager of Clinton Inc. was not Patty Solis-Doyle, and it will not be Maggie Williams. Patty was, and Maggie will be mere functionaries carrying out the decisions of the Clintons, Mark Penn and others. Mike Henry's resignation makes this pretty clear. Shit always runs downhill. The problem with Team Clinton in 2008 is that it's not 1992, but the Clintons believe they can run the same campaign. What struck me recently was Mrs. Clinton's reaffirmation of the federal sentencing guidelines. That codifies the sentences for criminal defendants. The guidelines strip federal judges of their discretion. In many instances, they struggle to find ways to offer defendants downward departures because, if not in the legal sense, from a human rights perspective, a mathematical formula to calculate prison sentences is, without mitigation, constitutes cruel and unusual punishment. The Declaration of Support at a rally organized in a working-class neighborhood was straight out of the 1990s of Tough on Crime playbook. Even the chief sponsor of the federal sentencing guideline legislation, the Fourth Reich Joe Biden, says he was wrong during the 1980s when he pushed for these reforms and co-sponsored the legislation with the late Senator Strom Thurmond. Crime stats are down. We know there's a direct correlation between incarceration, prison sentences, and the number of prison cells. The 90s was the era for prison expansion. The 21st century should marshal in an era where the root causes of crime are addressed. The 21st century should marshal in an era where the root causes of crime are addressed. Senator Obama gets this. Hillary is married to the old paradigm. The playbook of don't ask, don't tell, school uniforms, a teach to a test mentality of educational reform, and trade policy that has been unfair to workers and has helped devastate the environment. We've tried the agenda of the Democratic Leadership Council. It has corporatized our party, blurred the distinction between Democrats and Republicans, supported the concentration of wealth and mass globalization, underpinned by an oxymoronic foreign policy. Do Americans want 4 more years of Republican light? I don't think so. I think the American people are yearning for change from the local courthouse to the White House. They want to see an end to business as usual conducted by the levels of government they fund. Special interest domination over politics enshrouds its totality with perks, sweet deals, tax rebates, exemptions, and subsidies. This Barack Obama understands must end. The people are angry. And if their concept of what is, to quote the former president, not realized, he or any candidate elected this November would assuredly not be reelected to a second term. Hillary Clinton will try to walk a fine line on Iraq. She has shown us during this campaign. She supported the president's policy to invade, for she, as he, felt we had to do something to express our national outrage against 9/11. We displayed our outrage, with 3,400 more Americans dead, torture, and plunder. And we have disgraced ourselves in the international community, but Hillary is trying to walk a fine line between being a hawk or a dove. There's only one road to walk in Iraq, and that's out. Let's hope we can do so with some semblance of dignity. Democratic National Committee Chair Howard Dean came begging today. In an email to his donor list, Dean told us he was thrilled at the 2 great candidates we have in the race. But we can't stay home and watch the pundits, not at least until we write a check, so he can beat up McCain. There's plenty of time in Florida to use against McCain. We don't need a press release a day with no media outlet will use, or reams of research released now. Now our new party, the thousands of independents and moderates, joined by Democrats, must think about what shape the new Democratic Party will take. What are the changes we seek, and how will we use the party as a vehicle for implementation? This is what our Democratic National Convention must be about. We don't need useless attacks against McCain. We need a paradigm for change. That's what the Obama campaign is trying to put into place. Senator Obama must begin to talk about an ideology. How will we renew the post-New Deal consensus that has, by and large, governed us well for the last 60 years? Our social contract must be renewed to defeat interest group and corporate politics. I highly recommend reading A Question of Ideology from the 2.5 web edition of the American Prospect. Written by Paul Waldman, his thoughts provide the rudiments of the road we must travel to make the American dream a reality for each of us. All Americans should be empowered. The browning of America is occurring rapidly. Yesterday's report by the Pew Foundation tells the story. White Americans will be a minority by 2050. Hispanics will compose 30% of the population, with 15% of our fellow citizens immigrants. There'll be 157 million more of us. That is why now the time has come for a reconceptualization of the post-New Deal consensus, and that is why the right wing of Richard Mellon Scaife and other wingnuts want us to curb immigration or lead us down a road of social and economic apartheid. Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Asian Americans, the majority of the 157 million new Americans, should not and will not allow themselves to be written off as human capital to be ruled by a white minority. I want to say something to my Hispanic brothers and sisters, particularly in Texas. The polls project that 65% of you will support Hillary Clinton in the primary in March. Please take a look at Barack Obama before you cast that vote. Please take a look at Obama and say to yourself, who represents the working class? Who really represents the middle class? Hillary Clinton, who was a Goldwater girl and lived in suburbia all her life? Or Barack Obama, raised by a single mom and his grandparents, working in a neighborhood and representing poor people during his legal practice? He understands working class America. He understands middle class America. Think about that. Go to his website, take a look at his positions on issues, listen to his speeches, hear his ideas for real change, and then decide. Decide whether you want the politics of the past or the politics of the future. Barack Obama offers the politics of the future. It's America's time for renewal. It has come, and Barack Obama is the individual we need to lead us as we write a new first chapter of the American experience. This is Joe Garcia. The website is reform.squarespace.com. The email address is 2008reform@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening, and have a good afternoon. Goodbye.